Cha, I said. Did I hear you say something about there being a letter for me?
Yes, sir. It was delivered a moment ago by special messenger.
Important, you think?
One can only conjecture, sir.
Better open it and read contents.
Very good, sir.
There was a stage wait of about a minute and a half, during which, my moodiness now much lightened, I rendered Roll Out the Barrel, I Love a Lassie, and Every Day I Bring Thee Violets, in the order named. In due season his voice filtered through the woodwork.
The letter is of considerable length, sir. Perhaps if I were to give you its substance?
Do so, Jeeves. All ready at this end.
It is from a Mr. Percy Gorringe, sir. Omitting extraneous matter and concentrating on essentials, Mr. Gorringe wishes to borrow £1,000 from you.
I started sharply, causing the soap to shoot from my hand and fall with a dull thud on the bath mat. With no preliminary warning to soften the shock, his words had momentarily unmanned me. It's not often that one's confronted with ear-biting on so majestic a scale, a fiver till next Wednesday being about the normal tariff. You said, "What, Jeeves? £1,000? But who is this hound of hell? I don't know any Gorringes."
I gather from his communication that you and the gentleman have not met, sir, but he mentions that he is the stepson of a Mr. L.G. Trotter, with whom Mrs. Travers appears to be acquainted.
I nodded. Not much use, of course, as he couldn't see me. Yes, he's on solid ground there, I admitted. Aunt Dahlia does know Trotter. He's the bloke she's asked me to put the nosebag on with tonight. So far, so good. But I don't see that being Trotter's stepson entitles this Gorringe to think he can sit on my lap and help himself to the contents of my wallet. I mean, it isn't a case of any stepson of yours, L.G. Trotter, is a stepson of mine. Dash it, Jeeves, once start letting yourself be touched by stepsons, and where are you? The word flies round the family circle that you're a good provider, and up roll all the sisters and cousins and aunts and nephews and uncles to stake out their claims, several being injured in the crush. The place becomes a shambles.
There is much in what you say, sir, but it appears to be not so much a loan as an investment that the gentleman is seeking. He wishes to give you the opportunity of contributing the money to the production of his dramatization of Lady Florence Craye's novel, Spindrift.
Oh, that's it, is it? I see. Yes, one begins to follow the trend of thought. This Florence Craye is, well, I suppose you'd call her a sort of step-cousin of mine, or cousin once removed, or something of that nature. She's Lord Worplesdon's daughter. An old W, in a moment of temporary insanity, recently married my Aunt Agatha en seconde noces, as I believe the expression is. She's one of those intellectual girls, her bean crammed to bursting point with the little grey cells, and about a year ago, possibly because she was full of the divine fire, but more probably because she wanted something to take her mind off Aunt Agatha, she wrote this novel, and it was well received by the intelligentsia, who notoriously enjoy the most frightful bilge. "Did you ever read Spindrift?" I asked, retrieving the soap.
I skimmed through it, sir.
What did you think of it? Go on, Jeeves, don't be coy. The word begins with an L.
Well, sir, I would not go so far as to apply to it the adjective which I fancy you have in mind, but it seemed to me a somewhat immature production, lacking in significant form. My personal tastes lie more in the direction of Dostoevsky and the Great Russians. Nevertheless, the story was not wholly devoid of interest, and might quite possibly have its appeal for the theatre-going public.
I mused a while. I was trying to remember something, but couldn't think what. Then I got it. "I don't understand this," I said. "I distinctly recall Aunt Dahlia telling me that Florence had told her that some manager had taken the play and was going to put it on. Poor misguided sap, I recollect saying. Well, if that is so, why is Percy dashing about trying to get into people's ribs like this? What does he want £1,000 for? These are deep waters, Jeeves."
That is explained in the gentleman's letter, sir. It appears that one of the syndicate financing the venture, who had promised the sum in question, finds himself unable to fulfill his obligations. This, I believe, frequently happens in the world of the theatre.
I mused again, letting the moisture from the sponge slide over the torso. Another point presented itself. But why didn't Florence tell Percy to go and have a pop at Stilton Cheesewright, she being engaged to him, I mean? One would have thought that Stilton, linked to her by bonds of love, would have been the people's choice.
Possibly Mr. Cheesewright has not £1,000 at his disposal, sir.
That's true. I see what you're driving at, whereas I have, you mean.
Precisely, sir.
The situation had clarified somewhat. Now that I had the facts, I could discern that Percy's move had been based on sound principles. When you're trying to raise £1,000, the first essential, of course, is to go to someone who's got £1,000, and no doubt he'd learnt from Florence that I was stagnant with the stuff. But where he'd made his error was in supposing that I was the king of the mugs and in the habit of scattering vast sums like birdseed to all and sundry. Would you back a play, Jeeves?
No, sir.
Nor would I. I meet him with a firm nolli prosequi, I think, don't you, and keep the money in the old oak chest.
I would certainly advocate such a move, sir.
Right. Percy gets the bird. Let him eat cake. Now to a more urgent matter. While I'm dressing, will you be mixing me a strengthening cocktail?
Certainly, sir. A martini or one of my specials?
The latter. I spoke in no uncertain voice. It was not merely the fact that I was up against an evening with a couple whom Aunt Dahlia, always a good judge, had described as creeps that influenced this decision on my part. I needed fortifying for another reason. These last few days, with Jeeves apt to return at any moment, it had been borne in upon me quite a good deal that when the time came for us to stand face to face, I should require something pretty authoritative in the way of bracers to nerve me for what would inevitably be a testing encounter, calling for all that I had of determination and the will to win. If I was to emerge from it triumphant, no stone must be left unturned and no avenue unexplored. You know how it is when two strong men live in close juxtaposition, if juxtaposition is the word I want. Differences arise, wills clash, bones of contention pop up and start turning handsprings. No one was more keenly alive than I to the fact that one such bone was scheduled to make its debut the instant I swam into his ken, and mere martinis, I felt, despite their numerous merits, would not be enough to see me through the ordeal that confronted me. It was in quite fairly tense mood that I dried and clothed the person, and while it would be perhaps too much to say that as I entered the sitting-room some quarter of an hour later I was a twitter, I was unquestionably conscious of a certain jumpiness. When Jeeves came in with the shaker, I dived at it like a seal going after a slice of fish, and drained a quick one, scarcely pausing to say, "Skin off your nose." The effect was magical. That apprehensive feeling left me, to be succeeded by a quiet sense of power. I cannot put it better than by saying that, as the fire coursed through my veins, Wooster, the timid fawn, became in a flash Wooster, the man of iron will, ready for anything. What Jeeves inserts in these specials of his I've never ascertained, but their morale-building force is extraordinary. They wake the sleeping tiger in a chap. Well, to give you some idea, I remember once, after a single one of them, striking the table with clenched fist and telling my Aunt Agatha to stop talking rot. I'm not sure it wasn't bally rot. "One of your best and brightest, Jeeves," I said, refilling the glass. "The weeks among the shrimps have not robbed your hand of its cunning." He did not reply. Speech seemed to have been wiped from his lips, and I saw, as I'd foreseen would happen, that his gaze was riveted on the upper slopes of my mouth. It was a cold, disapproving gaze, such as a fastidious luncher who was not fond of caterpillars might have directed at one which he discovered in his portion of salad, and I knew that the clash of wills for which I had been bracing myself was about to raise its ugly head. I spoke suavely but firmly. You can't beat suave firmness on these occasions, and thanks to that life-giving special, I was able to be as firmly suave as Billy O. There was no mirror in the sitting-room, but had there been, and had I caught a glimpse of myself in it, I've no doubt I should have seen something closely resembling a haughty seigneur of the old regime about to tell the domestic staff just where it got off. Something appears to be arresting your attention, Jeeves. Is there a smut on my nose? His manner continued frosty. There are moments when he looks just like a governess, one of which was this one.
No, sir. It is on the upper lip, a dark stain like mulligatawny soup.
I gave a careless nod. "Ah, yes," I said. "The moustache. That's what you're alluding to, is it not? I grew it while you were